Alrighty. It's going to be take two, I guess. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Quest for Glory. We're going to be doing a quick restart here of this run, Fire Emblem
Restart the
Thracia.
whole run, right? Just clean slate?
Yep.
Alright, let's get that set up then. You guys ready on time? Because I got 3, 2, 1, go. Alright, so let's get started again. I guess for those of you who haven't joined us before, and just start us off on the right foot here, we've got Avel, who's our swordmaster, who's a pre-promote. We've got Finn, who's the cavalier, who's carrying Leaf the Lord currently. We've got Orson, who's an axe user, who's going to his house to pick up a really neat range weapon that he has from his dad, who's going to help out in a couple of the early game chapters. One thing I didn't talk about last time, which I can talk about now, is rescuing in general. Some Fire Emblem games, like Fire Emblem 7, have rescuing, but many of the more recent Fire Emblem games have pair-up, which is like a more beneficial version. Basically, the way rescuing works is every unit in Thracia has something called a build stat, which is like a constitution. And if your build is higher than the person you want to carry, you can pick them up and you can take like about half penalty to your major combat stats. Basically everything but luck. And conversely, yeah.
Sorry. So I'm actually curious. So I know that I believe a rough fan translation of this exists. Is running on the Japanese version like done mainly for manipulations? Like, is that something that's not doable on the English patch?
I don't research much into playing with patches because while stuff is pretty clean, I never know if bugs are going to exist. And it's also just a general policy of mine to run a game on console if I can. So I couldn't really answer that question. And running on console is basically a convenience for me.
Makes sense. So, Fire Emblem blue guy runs up to red guy, hits him really hard, turn ends, and you win.
Huh, she usually kills those guys without issue, but it doesn't matter. She has an extra turn. So yeah, okay, like I said earlier, we're going to be getting the life ring with Finn, which is 7 max HP for anybody who needs it. And we're getting Orson's axe, the Pooji. And we're going to be killing the boss with the fire sword because it's by far the most convenient way to do so. Bosses on Thrones and Gates get plus 10 defense and plus 30 avoid. So you really, really like to have this pre-promoted unit to help out deal with that. And later in the game, solving that problem is mainly going to be done by using Asvel, who's a very strong magic user. Yeah, like I said, the English patch is really good for this game as it currently exists. We're going to unequip Leaf's weapon here currently. Leaf himself actually also has a personal weapon. Finn's got basically a Brave Lance as a personal weapon. But Leaf has the Light Sword, which is just a nice 1-2 range weapon. And you can actually use it from your inventory to fully heal yourself as well, which is pretty neat. But we don't want it equipped right now because we don't want Leaf to be getting into any combat. We're going to be continuing to rescue here using Finn and our promoted unit Dagdar just to get everybody up to the top here as quickly as possible. We're going to be getting the same 2 villages as last time. We're going to be picking up Ronan because you need a lot of warm bodies in Thracia, and we're going to be picking up the speed ring because speed ring is very, very important. Oh, here. Avel's going to wait in front of the boss instead of attacking him here, because the boss here actually has variable stats. Most enemies in this game actually just have variable stats in general. They can even have extra movement, which is one of the things that requires the most improvisation to play around in a speedrun. But Bucks over here definitely survives a single combat with Avel too often for us to take the chance on it, where he might heal during enemy phase. And so if he attacks us and lives, then we'll have the extra turn to kill him here. Wasn't this game disliked due to its difficulty and stamina mechanics that never showed up again after this game? It's had a bit of a mixed reception over the years. Some people really like the unique mechanics that existed, but you can't deny that even outside of those mechanics, Thracia is in many ways the backbone of a lot of the entries in the series that came after it. Rescuing and capturing, the general map design. It's a very clean game overall.
Yeah. It's also a little bit more skirmish oriented as far as I've seen than 4, which was kind of just loaded with these huge long maps.
Yep. Yeah, so this game is technically like a midquel or like a side story to Fire Emblem 4, which was much bigger in scope than Thracia is. So here we're equipping everybody here with ranged weapons to deter this archer from attacking anyone but Orson. This is just going to be the cleanest combat to take care of here. Dagador's got the hand axe, Orson's got his personal weapon, the Poogie, and Avel's got her fire sword. And Orson's going to go down here and clean up a couple of these other guys in the dark. And it's important to note that in just about every guide and chapter in this game, we have to contend with the darkness of war, like the upgraded version of the Fog of War, where you don't even get to see the terrain anymore. But if you see where that cutscene just scrolled up there at the top, that's where we're going to ultimately be going. And one thing we're going to do at the very end of this chapter is we're going to capture the boss. And capturing is basically like an offensive version of rescuing. If your capturing unit has higher build than the person that you're trying to target, then either you get to make a capture attack against the opponent where like you essentially have your stats while you're doing the attack. If you kill them, then you get to basically take them into your person. And if they're unarmed or they only have like 3 to 10 ranged weapons, then you actually get to capture them for free. And either way, once they're with you, you get to take all their stuff and you can even release them, which basically just puts them off of the map. But the way we're going to recruit our thief here is by capturing him, and luckily he is entirely unarmed. Where am I going for route split and why is it A route? Yeah, there is a route split in this game, and yes, we are going for A route. And the reason is because A route has one fewer escape map. Normally this would be a problem, but actually, I think we can use backup leaf here. Dagdar's supposed to kill that guy on his own. Oh boy. You know, I do have to reset over that. I might be able to improvise around other things. Leaf doesn't normally get level ups, but he's not allowed to get a build there. I was talking about how rescuing is really, really important and how you need to have higher build than someone to rescue. So if your characters actually level up build too much, then like they can't carry each other anymore. That's the first time that's ever happened to me. So what's normally supposed to happen is Asvel is supposed to gain 1 build level up in Chapter 5, and we do manipulate this. But like it just becomes too chaotic if Leaf has also got a build level up. The 776 is the year that the game takes place in, which would generally have more significance to someone playing the game if they played Fire Emblem 4 as well. Like, 'cause that, like I said, that game's a lot bigger in scope, and so the timeline extends across decades, and so this really is quite a niche game. It's one of the reasons why it's one of the more obscure games in the series. Didn't come to America, and you kind of have to play FE4 if you want to understand what's going on. And a lot of the mechanics are pretty not like new player friendly. Like there's a lot of hidden stuff in this game, and there's a lot of stuff that really feels like an old NES game or an SNES game as far as punishment.
Doesn't help when I think this game had one of the most limited releases of any Nintendo game.
That's right. It was released at the end of the Super Nintendo's lifetime. I believe while the N64 was like the prominent console as well. It was one of the last games out for the SNES.
I think they made it for like I almost want to say a Wonder Swan, but I don't think that's actually it. It was for like some niche Japanese console, and it was also put on the SNES, but it was like
It's not a
1998.
console. There was like these um like flash card things. Like you would go to a
Right.
kiosk and you would take your Super Famicom flash card and you would put it in and you would like load it up with games. It was this weird system that they had. And actually, the version of Thracia that I have is on one of these flash cards because it's a lot cheaper to get it that way than to buy the ROM version that was released later.
Yeah, it was released like 2 years after the N64 had gotten going.
Yeah. Oh, thank God she crit. I was really worried that you wouldn't kill that guy there. But yeah, so we're one of the main considerations in this level, aside from just completing as quickly as possible with a couple of units, is conserving our fire sword ammunition. And actually, in the marathon route, we're going to make sure that we equip the Iron Blade a little more often than usual, just to give ourselves a bit of a buffer in later chapters. But on this turn, where I've equipped the Iron Blade here, it is likely that Avel could miss, which would make maybe waste a bit of time in this chapter that I otherwise wouldn't. But nope, we're pretty good here. This warrior can survive sometimes, but he's got low max HP. He's probably dead. And we're almost done with 2x. Once we're done with 2x, we're going to get ready for our first RNG manipulation in this game. And I'm going to prepare you for that by saying that one of the things that we want to have happen in the next chapter is we want to have our cleric Safi miss with her repair staff. And what missing with the repair staff is going to do is it's going to attempt to use the staff, but not actually consume a charge of it. And we're going to get the experience and weapon experience off of it. We're going to try and do that 5 times during the chapter. And then once I demonstrate that process, I'm going to tell you how it works, and it's going to be pretty cool. So we captured Lithus there, our thief, like I was talking about earlier. We're also killing Shiva here to make him not spawn in Chapter 7 with his army. It's very important to get him out of the way. Staves can miss, and we want them to miss.
Okay, I beat 3 houses like a couple minutes ago, and everything you're just
I got a
saying
minute
is
here, sorry.
sacrilege.
I got it, sorry. Okay. Yeah, there's going to be some times where I ask for quiet because I got to hear some ticks in order to make the nips go well. And this chapter is one of them. I got to get focused a lot during it to make sure that I keep these staff misses going. But yeah, okay, so let's talk about RNG Manipulator. Let's just talk about what just happened. So basically, in this game, I call the RNG semi-manipulable because it's not really like Fire Emblem 7, where you can just basically route the entire game out and like do diagonal movement a bunch and burn a bunch of RNs and it'll go the same way every time. But it's not really like your later Fire Emblem games either, where you've got no control except by some kind of frame-perfect stuff. But basically, the way it works in Thracia is when you start the game, or if you check your unit status screen, we're going to pick a random seed out of 64 possible seeds, and then we start from the first position in the RNG table there. And the trick to manipulating something like a staff miss is that in these 64 tables, there are some common elements. And the one that I'm using for the staff miss here is a common number 94 on position 35 of all of these tables. And so how are we going to get to position 94? Well, unlike in Fire Emblem 7, you don't really have the cursor that you can use to generate like lots and lots of RNs by burning diagonals here. What we do instead is we use the battle preview screen to burn random numbers. We basically set up these sanitary combats that are always going to go a certain way, and we take advantage of the fact that while you're in the battle preparation screen, you burn a number of RNs equal to the amount that would actually burn into the combat if you did it. And so there, I just saw that battle preview screen 10 times. I burned 33 numbers in so doing. Burn the 34th by using that diagonal. The 35th number is that 94, and we just missed right there. And so, like I said, we're going to be missing 5 times with the repair staff over the course of the fight. And it's really, really useful to do this because the repair staff, we want to conserve charge of the repair staff because every single one of those is either going to be repairing Asvel's personal weapon, the Graph Caliber, or it's going to be repairing a precious warp staff, which is going to be skipping like 3 maps. And second, like you don't want to use something like the heal staff because the repair staff gives you a lot more weapon experience. I believe it gives you 10 weapon experience to try to use the repair staff. Meanwhile, there are actually other objectives in this map here. There are some kids up there that we need to go rescue, but we're only actually going to rescue one of them. We're going to rescue a kid named Corporal, who's going to give us access to the warp staff in Chapter 8. Carpra, yeah. You'll have to forgive me. I grew up on the old names, and I know some of the new ones, and I remember them a bunch, but I'm not going to be perfect. I'm also not going to compromise on SETI. But I'll try and correct myself if I forget one of the newer names. You'll also notice that we've been dragging Tanya, the archer, up here throughout the entirety of this map. Basically, we're, using her as capture bait, essentially. We're leaving her unarmed so that enemies capture her and waste their turns and weaken themselves. But also, it's actually very important that she gets captured and dragged off of the map at the end of the fight here. This is because in Chapter 8, normally you'd get Dagdar and Tanya back by doing Chapter 8X, but if Tanya is gone, then you can actually get just Dagdar back without doing Chapter 8X. Now, I'd like to see a skill level up out of Safi here. We need exactly 1 skill level up in the whole game to never miss with staves. Alright, that's good. I mean, we're using this kid as a human shield, don't worry about it. Gonna take care of this boss. Oh yeah, we have more than enough Fire Sword, especially after saving it in Chapter 2X. Now, the last thing we're going to be doing in Chapter 3 here is manipulating all of our characters' inventories because everything's going to get shaken up here, and all the stuff that every character has is going to matter, either when they go to the next chapter or when they return later. Spoiler alert. In particular, Leaf and Lifis' inventories are going to be important. Is an 8X worth it for Tanya alone? No, it is not. Alright, and there we go. That's Chapter 3 done. We've got all our staff misses. We rescued Carpra. We got everyone's inventory where it needs to be. And now we're going to proceed to Chapter 4, which is one of the big twists story-wise here. Most of our army here is going to be captured. Gonzo. And only Leaf and Lifis are going to remain. They're going to be in jail as well. All their stuff's going to be taken from them, and it's going to be scattered around a lot of these random chests. Meanwhile, we get a bunch of new people that I'm going to have to introduce here. On the right here are going to be the people that I'm going to be controlling for the first part of the map. We've got Lara, who's a second thief. Machia, who's basically a Myrmidon. And we have Brighton, who is a dismounted Axe Knight. And basically, mounted units in this game don't get to use their mount indoors. They basically have to use these dismounted sprites, and they have to equip swords. But that's not really the important thing. What's important about Brighton is that he has a skill called Wrath. And Wrath is really good in this game compared to other games where it might show up. Basically, Wrath gives you guaranteed critical hits when you're counterattacking in Thracia. So even though Brighton is inaccurate, you can just park him somewhere, and hopefully he's going to be able to get critical hits on these soldiers that are coming up against him. Meanwhile, there's a lot of things that we need to do in order to exit Chapter 4 safely and complete the rest of the infamous Manster escape sequence. And I'm going to go over them like one by one as we're going through all of this stuff. Oh yeah, we are not taking Dawson. We do want lots and lots of units in this game, but there are plenty of units which are way cumbersome to recruit. So Brighton didn't take care of that guy, which is a bit unfortunate. But hopefully Machi can finish him off. This chapter requires a lot of improvisation because the locations of the chests are random, and how this combat goes can be random as well. But generally, it actually also goes pretty well if you know what you're doing as far as improvisation is concerned. All right, that's an acceptable performance by Brighton. That's a solid 9 out of 10 there. That's about good enough to retire off of, wouldn't you say, Brighton? So now we're going to release Leaf with the rest of his new friends. We got Fergus over here on the left, who is going to be very important in these next couple of chapters of the Manster Escape here, and Karen, who is a dismounted Pegasus Knight, who we're going to keep around for later, because Pegasus Knights are good. So a lot of these guys here are going to be used to block a lot of the reinforcement points where soldiers come out of. And basically, everywhere they're standing is a place where soldiers can come out of in this map. It definitely makes it aggravating for a first playthrough to see all these soldiers come out with a new army, especially units this week. But I certainly had a lot of fun with it when I played the first time. But here, they're just going to buy time while we open all of these chests and we get Fergus's weapon XP set up. And also while we have the civilians here escape from these cells at the top. If all of the civilians escape, then we get access to Chapter 4X, where we get Asvel. And that's really the only time you lose in an Asvel, right? It's like a bit of a detour to go to 4X. But Asvel more than makes up for it with his boss-killing potential. But I guess now while I'm opening up these chests, it's a good time for donations and reminders about NAMI and such. GK?
Oh, great. Well, we got a couple donations, actually. We got $40 from Tiny Tim. Hey, Tiny Tim. Hey, y'all. Had to donate for the amazing Fire Emblem run. Good luck to Ghost on the run and Ghost on the hosting. Cheers. I knew we were going to get at least one of those. We also got $50 from Night Flyer with no comment, but thank you so much for your donation. Just want to remind everyone, we actually have a couple of prizes for the upcoming run of Dragon Ball Z, Legend of the Super Saiyajin. That's going to be an interesting one, I'll tell you that much. There's a $5 minimum donation. You can get a copy of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot for PS4. And also, if you donate $30 at any point during the marathon, you can win a PlayStation 3 bundle, which comes with a copy of Ni no Kuni. And this is an old refurbished model of the PS3 that is actually backwards compatible, which is, those are actually pretty rare and pretty valuable. So it's definitely a pretty worthwhile grand prize.
Just an interjection, this is not Elite mode. This is the normal mode of Thracia that we're playing on here. Continue.
Well, I was done, but if you want me to
continue.
Oh,
no, it's fine. I can get back into it because there is some stuff I should talk about here as well. Fergus is about to get into combat with these armors here. And one thing to note about that combat is that we're going to be relying on the Slim Sword for damage here, which seems odd because it does no damage if it doesn't crit. So this is a good time to talk about both the crit formula and the pursuit critical coefficient. Unlike some other Fire Emblem games, crits don't triple the resulting damage. They double your weapon's attack before subtracting the defense. So I'm going to take a look here quickly. 5, 5. All right, so I'm just going to do one more of these and then leave it. There's a bunch of considerations I need to worry about that I'm not explicitly talking about right now. So crits are a way, so this is a way that a crit can do damage that it wouldn't normally. Basically, our weapon has 8 attack, and he has 11 defense, so when we crit, we do 5 damage, and when we don't crit, we do 0 damage. The other thing I need to mention is Pursuit Critical Coefficient. It's like a hidden stat that's unique to every unit, and I think I'll just let it go. It goes from 0 to 5, and when you are attacking or defending or whatever, on the second strike of your attack, your critical chance is multiplied by your Pursuit Critical Coefficient. On the first strike, it's actually capped at 25% critical, no matter what it actually is. So Fergus has a 5 Pursuit Critical Coefficient, which means that he's actually got like a 60% chance to crit on the second attack here, which is why we can reliably do this. What turn is it even? 17? Okay. We want to get 14 weapon experience on Fergus before all this is done, and we want to make sure that this armor is not dead, and the other armor is not especially damaged. Okay, so that guy's on 1, so that means we're done with him. Yeah, Lifis is actually one of the characters who has 0 PCC. So he's got that much weapon experience now. So we're going to be doing a manipulation to get out of here easily. And I'd like for this guy not to be damaged very much. Okay. I'm using that 94 again to actually try and make him crit less so that we keep these guys surviving as long as possible. Alright, that's all good. Turn 21. Alright, that's pretty much exactly where we need to be. So I'm going to make sure I heal here. Steal that door key with Lara. Okay. Big menu here. Doesn't exactly go all the same way all the time. That looks good to me. And now Leaf's reinforcements have run out, so he's going to start moving up here. And in a few turns, we're going to start moving everyone else as well. And then it's going to be time for some real focus. Because one thing that's been happening in this game that I haven't been talking about as well is the movement stars, which I think has been localized to Vigor now in the most recent patch. Basically, movement stars are another hidden stat. It's not really all that hidden, actually, because it's on the second screen. But it's not really clear what it does. Every character also has 0 to 5 movement stars, and for each movement star a character has, they have a 5% chance to essentially go again after they go. And in the top here of this map is like a really, really big army. And we don't want to fight that army, and we don't want to kite it around like we used to do. So we're going to manipulate a couple of characters to go again in order to walk out of here. Because this is actually an escape map as well. We need to make sure that everybody that we want to live leaves before Leaf does. Unfortunately, the people that we need to manipulate to move again have only a 5% chance to go again. So we need to actually find a shared 0 between all the tables, and that 0 is pretty far out. So, like I said, I'm going to count to 70 a bunch here, and I'm going to be really focused while I do so, because we don't want to reset this chapter. Just make sure I'm doing it right. good. That's one. Yeah, I don't trust. Just try it again. Okay. Took it extra safe. Normally during an 80% I'd go about twice as fast, but we did it. We got everyone to go again, and now everybody can leave in peace. A random chance to move again? Yeah, this is the only game that has that globally on all the units. Okay, so like I said, we saved all the civilians, we unlocked this guide end chapter, and fans of this game know how rough the first turn of this guide end chapter can be, especially since we didn't actually level anybody up in this chapter. So we've done a bunch of cool things to make this more consistent, mainly with manipulating Fergus's weapon XP. So first we're going to sacrifice Machi entirely here, and Lithus is going to be a temporary sacrifice to be capture bait. But secondly, Fergus has a fire sword in the top of his inventory that he can't use, and below that, a rapier, which he currently can use. After he gains 6 more weapon experience, he's going to level up to B, and when he does, the fire sword in the top of his inventory is going to be legal. And in this game, that means you're going to switch to that weapon. Why is this important? Because in the darkness here, we've got a bunch of armors and a bunch of soldiers here that we have to fight at close range using high armor piercing and high critical hit weapons like the rapier. And then immediately we get beset on by like 3 mages here, and we need to equip a 1 to 2 range weapon that gives us magical defense like the fire sword does. That guy had an extra move. That guy's not supposed to be able to do that. That guy also shouldn't survive. I don't think Leaf can kill him. We're also probably dead here. This is the least consistent chapter in the current marathon route. But resetting here only resets the first turn. I tried to work out ways to manipulate it much like Chapter 5 is manipulated, but it's too difficult because too much happens at the same time to be worth it in comparison to just resetting. Yeah. Fergus definitely can survive there, even if he gets hit by the armor. The armor is really the make or break as to whether he's favored to survive or favored to not survive. But I never count him out. Like, it's very easy for him to not take very much damage or just flat out dodge everything that the mages throw at him. The other small concern is the people at the top section here. Let's introduce them. The one on the right in the longer robes is Seti, who is a god, basically. Seti has a legendary wind tome called the Holsity that gives him a ridiculous bonus to his skill and speed, in addition to just having good might in general. And next to him is Asvel, a level 1 mage with a personal wind tome called the Graph Caliber. And that's basically like the Excalibur in some other games, except it's like got really, really high hit and crit, like for Thracia standards. And basically we want to make sure that Asvel doesn't die or said he doesn't put himself in the wrong place as well. No, yeah, Machi is gone. This is what she's been building up to this entire time. No, I don't think Set is a good name. At the very least, that's one I don't compromise on. I mean, I played this game like years ago, and I used the Serenus Forest like website to like look at names. Like I played it on console. I never used any translation patch, so I'm stuck on it. At least a bit of the time. Maybe this works. It's not ideal. I'll see what happens. There's like a second guy here or something. Yes, this one relates to FE4. Yeah, okay, this didn't go well. Yeah, they all kind of bunched up in a weird way. All right, 4X. We knew this could happen. After this, the run is either manipulated or very, very easy, so we're likely not to get messed with by the RNG past 4X. And we're just resetting the first turn a bunch here, but this is a pretty rough one. Okay. That's very good for Fergus's survivability, and him getting the build level up there actually means that he can pick up SETI. So if SETI stands in front of the door, then we can waste some time to get him out of there instead of resetting. Thank you for the well wishes. So one other thing I can talk about right now is support, because Karen is currently supporting Fergus. So unlike other Fire Emblem games where support is something that you build over time and then benefit from later, support in Thracia reflects the relationships that already exist between in units. So Fergus and Karen know each other from before the Manster escape, or at least ran into each other and, like, you know, had some misadventures with the guards or whatever. And because of that, they just have support. And so when they're within 3 squares of each other, they give each other 10 hit, avoid, crit, and crit avoid. Yeah, it's like in the I call it a midquel. It's definitely like in the back half of Genealogy though. So it's closer to a sequel than it is a prequel. But it's definitely concurrent. This looks like a good combat for Fergus. Yeah, that's pretty ideal. Let's take a look at how the top section's going. One annoying thing is that Asvel actually, like, he'll consume Graph Caliber here, obviously, and we don't want that because we want to keep as much of that as possible. But he'll also actually get fatigued even when he's not one of your units. And we brought the Light Sword here into the Manster Escape section specifically for turns like this. Like, that guy doesn't always survive. In fact, very often he dies. But it's nice to be able to have Leaf around as a backup just in case we need a free turn to deal some damage to one guy. That comes up quite a lot in these runs, where because of the way the enemy stats vary between chapters. Yes, okay, this is good for Asvel. This means he's going to kill this guy, and then he's not going to move over there. Meanwhile, SETI is going to walk all the way over to the right and take the brunt of this combat. So this should be a good 4X. Yeah, Graph Caliber is great. For context, like, there was a lot of concerns in manipulating the next chapter because, like, if Asvel gains a level in this chapter, and he does, then you could have different skills between, like, different skill between attempts. So if you, like, were supposed to crit and you didn't, or if you weren't supposed to crit and you did, that could mess up the manip. But while you have the Graph Caliber equipped, you actually have maximum hit and crit, even when you're at, like, level 1. So that's actually not even a concern. Yes, the enemy unit did in fact capture one of our units, and it dragged her off. We actually purposefully disarmed her so that they could do that and waste their turns and kill themselves, essentially, doing that. And another cool thing that we're about to see right now is in Thracia, thieves can steal the weapons right out of the enemy's hands, not just like unequipped weapons and items. You can do that as long as your build is higher than the weapon's weight and your speed is higher than the target you're stealing from.
You have time for a quick donation?
Yes, go ahead.
Alrighty. We got $20 from Louise here. It just says Schroff.
Sure.
Dude.
Yeah, Stroff is the name of Sloof previously, which always throws me for a loop. The move level ups rigged on Lara. I don't rig any level ups except for Asvel's in the next chapter. Here we're gonna set up to open the door. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here. And once we do that, we're gonna give Asvel the speed ring. And everybody's gonna start attacking this way now. Alright. So one thing that happened earlier is Karen actually went and talked to SETI and picked up something. That was the SETI scroll. Lithus had a Crusader scroll in his inventory as well, called the Hazul scroll. And what these Crusader scrolls do, because it's important right now, is they affect the unit's growth rates who's carrying them. And while you're carrying a Crusader scroll, you actually can't get critical hit it at all, which is really, really nice. You're just carrying a bunch of iron runes around. Asvel's also going to pick up the life ring here from Leaf so that he doesn't get fatigued during the next chapter. Just setting him up to be the ultimate warrior. And with the SETI scroll, it gives you a hefty speed growth. Asvel's going to have over 100% speed growth, so we don't actually need to worry about that going forward. Most of the time, if we're not manipulating a movement star, by the way, we don't really need to use the extra turn that we're given, because we kind of just want to have people positioned where we want to position them, right? Like, you're generally not going to need to, like, move one person to a different spot. Like, everybody's working together in a tactics game. Yes, it is actually false that the staff hit caps at 99. Normal combat caps out at 99, but if your skill is 10 and you're a staff user, the game does not roll RNG at all. It is actually a 100 hit rate. And the fact that the game does not roll RNG at all matters for future manips. Where if you're using a staff in the middle of a manip, you have to bear in mind whether or not you have 10 skill or not. So you can burn an extra number or not. All right, so now we're back to escaping, and Azel's going to use that HP ring from earlier. We're going to bunch everyone up, and we're going to leave. So I do have time for one more quick donation, if you've got it. GK.
Sorry about that. So just want to do a quick plug of an incentive on here. So we have the picture at Cape Cam in Final Fantasy 15, which would be 2 runs from now. That's currently sitting at $112 out of 300 raised, so definitely get your donations in for that. We also have a couple of bid wars for that run. We have the party outfit. Currently in the lead is just casual with jacket at 0. So all of them. There's no money put towards any of that one. The voice language, German is in the lead with 30, French is just behind it at 20, and English and Japanese are sitting behind at 0, but you can put your money towards those as well. And then the final photo, there's currently no donations towards those, so any amount would put any of those in the lead.
So what we're doing right now is we're trying to start the game at a specific seed now. If I'm going to manipulate the entirety of Chapter 5, I'm aiming for an 8-frame cluster at the beginning. Usually I get it on the first try, but game is being a little uncooperative right now. Let's take a look. That's right. 0, 0, 1, 0. That's 63. So now I know all of the enemy stats. I said they were variable earlier, but they're tied to whatever's going on here. The initial starting seed. And now I can basically play this like a Fire Emblem 7 run, if any of you guys are familiar with that. If I take the same actions, I'm going to get the same results. Modulo, Asvel having like one more skill or something, which matters at the top section we have to equip fire. But the very first thing we're going to do here is we're going to manipulate him to get a build level up, so that he can be heavier than Leaf and essentially be able to carry him later on in the game. We're also, in this manip, I'm trying to save as much Graph Cal as possible, just in case Chapter 4X goes really, really poorly for Asvel, and he has to use a lot of it and get himself fatigued. And I'm also trying to make sure we get HP level up, so again, we don't have to worry about fatigue. In any percent where I don't do this manip, all these are factors in the improvisation process, and it's pretty fun to do. It's just pretty not fun to die at the top section to the general boss, where you can, like, you have to survive 2 out of 3 30% hits and a 50% hit. It's just a little dicey. Oh yeah, also, we basically just disarmed Nana and Avel, like, just at the beginning, essentially immediately. Don't worry about it. We don't need Nana. We don't need there to be any variation in the Coliseum. There's a lot of stuff that can go weirdly there. There's just no reason to worry about any of that. So, peace out, Nana. Yes, weapons do have durability. We are going to run out. We're going to use the Graph Caliber initially, and we're going to run out of it at the end of this chapter. But don't worry, we're going to repair that right back up with Safi as soon as we get access to her again. Oh yeah, and bye-bye Jigen, right? Like, we don't get access to our pre-promote the whole run, so... No. Did that reset the RNG? I really hope it didn't. I tried to end turn there. I'm worried now. I think I know what to expect here. I've never opened the unit menu before doing this, so... Didn't accept my input. Waiting with bated breath to see if this level up is what I want it to be. I don't think that was it. I think I'm going to reset here. I'm just going to be safe. This is not Paragon mode. This is normal mode. I'm sorry. I just want to... It's better to do it here than to die in the top section, so we're going to be absolutely sure. Going to be more careful about ending my turns. That's the first time I've made that mistake. Nope. Come on. Yeah, exactly. Like, if I went in 10 minutes and I died at the top, that would have been a lot worse than what I'm doing now. This is a safe precaution to make, I think. 1, 0, 1, 0, 0. And then I have to do one more. 0. That's 60. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We actually don't get the build here. We're going to get in the next combat. I couldn't find a combat early enough in this seed to get a good build level up early. But yeah, okay. There's a lot to talk about in this chapter as well. So this is going to be the main place where Asvel levels up before promoting, like till level 10 and getting lots of stats and stuff. But most of his stat gains in this level really don't matter outside of surviving this level because his promotion gains are so absurd. I believe he gets like 6 magic and 6 speed and 5 skill. It's going to be great when you see it. But for now, we just need to make sure that We clear all of these enemies. We escape with everybody that we can. And we don't fatigue the people that need to be fatigued. In any percent, also, you have to budget your vulnerary use. You have to budget, like, you have to rely on, like, you have to guess whether or not you're going to need. I did get the build. I was not supposed to get the build. What the heck am I looking at here? So good level ups. I'm very confused right now. It shouldn't be an accident, though. That's what scares me. You know what? I'm sufficiently scared. We're gonna do one more of these resets. Really don't want to have to restart from the top again. That would be the worst timeline. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That's seed 0. Yeah, just gonna continue to exercise an abundance of caution here for this marathon run. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so yeah, the build level up is something in any percent, which is also very scary to get. It's only like 10% for Asvet to level a build, and so it's like 3/4 chance for him to get it at some point during the entire fight. But we're getting it out of the way early, just in case we mess up Manip like later on during the chapter, and have to gamble on the top section not killing us. Yeah, this is definitely in any percent the scariest chapter speedrun. It's also the crux of like a lot of the routing in some of the other scenarios, where it's like if you try and go for a Fergus route, you'd pretty much have to do something like this. I've come to the conclusion, where you manipulate all of his stat ups to be really, really good when he gains levels. Yeah, there's our good build level up. That's exactly what I've come to expect from this seed. I don't have every pattern memorized, but I've got surprisingly more than you might think. I worked on this manip over the last month to make the run marathon safe. And really, this is like a below average case for the manip, but it's still better than doing it dry. You guys can trust me on that. Like, usually it just works. Yep, Evil getting stoned again. Nana getting captured again. Okay. Gotta make sure we move everyone in a specific order as well, otherwise that's gonna mess things up as well. Past this chapter, like, we can miss boss kills, like, very rarely, but doing so really only costs, like, a turn's worth of time. So once we get past here, we're essentially out of the woods on the variants of this run. I didn't screw up that last one. It might have been something about Asvel's stats that caused the manip to diverge there. I tried to... What am I doing? That was almost really bad. Focus. That also wasn't right, but we're gonna keep going this time. I was supposed to get a crit there. Why didn't it work? Yeah, it's wrong. It's just wrong. I was supposed to get a movement star there. I can't believe that didn't work. Because I caught myself. I didn't actually screw up there. That's really unfortunate. Well, it's not as 1 0 0 1 1 3. Okay. I'll have to look back at that bot and see what I did. Oh, that was just... I didn't even fucking do the thing. That time I didn't actually do the thing that I was supposed to do. That was just silly. Alright, the same thing. Yeah, okay. Now we're on scene 3. This is the benefit of having an 8-frame window. It is nice to be able to get to the... We've been on both wide ends of it. Can't exactly mash frame perfectly. Yeah, I probably could have taken a chance on the combat at the top there at this point. But you can never know, really, that this is going to happen. Meanwhile, we're going to get some good level ups here, again, to make sure that our combats are as easy as possible going through this chapter. Yep, there's that build we were looking for. Yeah, this cutscene again. I've definitely grown tired of seeing this cutscene over the years. I've done a lot of any %. I've done a lot of marathon practice. It takes a while to turn a Yellowstone. Okay. I'm gonna keep focus. as much as I can. Yep, getting those first turn Graph Cal crits to save Graph Cal energy. Getting our good level ups. And we need either a movement level up or a movement star at some point, like a remove, just to make the AI easier to manage at the top section. Leaf, Glyphis. Get another Fire Tome here, because we need more stuff for Asvel after we don't have Graph Caliber. Yeah, he's pretty great. Like, I think if you tuned his promotion, that'd be the easiest thing to get him in line with the rest. But, you know, because lots of people have great personal weapons. But Sage promotion's really, really good. So Merthoglyphis, Pretender. Okay, we do still have Manip. We got that movement star like we were supposed to. Okay, Karen, this, Fergus. Here we're just making sure that this guy misses us and that we crit him in return so that we don't have to waste a turn healing. So yeah, the reason why we manipulated that movement star is so that this mage doesn't get close enough to the rest of our units to attack them instead. Or like decide whether to get close enough to the rest of our units. I don't want to have to worry about that variability, basically. I think it weighs 3, Drysalizer. Seem to remember Asvel having 17 attack speed in the endgame. Yeah, that's probably true. Regular one might weigh 2. I don't think Elwind is in this game. Now we're going to do something cool. We actually have to open this door for the cutscene. And what the cutscene's going to do is Leaf is just going to move himself all the way over here carrying Lara. And now's where we get to say goodbye to Fergus. We're going to unequip him, and he's basically just going to get captured by this general. And we're not going to have to deal with him. Nope. So now we're done with GraphCal, and we're going to use the Holy Water. Holy Water traditionally just increases your resistance, but actually in Thracia there is no resistance stat. In Thracia, your magic stat is both your magic stat and your resistance stat. So using the Holy Water here is actually an offensive thing.
Got any room for donations?
Just 1 second. We're about to get to the scary combat here. This is these 3 archers here, and this general are the big turn in this game, basically. The archers have about a 30% chance to hit you, and the general has about a 50% chance to hit you, and if 2 of them ever hit you, usually you're dead. This is what we've gone through the whole chapter to manipulate, and we should be doing well just about now. Let's watch. And you can go for donations while this is happening.
My blood is too glued to my seat. We'll figure out what's happening here. Alrighty. We got $30 from Cheezer. Says, shoutouts to Ghost Wheel on the Thracia run. Glad to see you're still destroying every game you touch. Good luck.
Oh, wow, Cheezer. It's been a while.
$5 from Anonymous. No comment. Thank you very much. All anonymous donations are still very much welcome and appreciated. $30 from Smug Skull. It says, great marathon. Go, Ghost Wheel. $11 from Talianor. No comment. Thank you very much.
All right, so we're done with that. We're just about clear, knock on wood, to get to the end of the game in a pretty smooth fashion, I think. Just, GK, what's my time currently right now? Or does anybody want to?
Sorry, my mic didn't unmute. It's about 106.30 right now.
Yeah, okay. That's really behind where we'd want to be, but we can still probably make estimate. So the pursuit critical coefficient for Asvel is 3, which is enough to get 100% crit with the Graph Caliber on your second attack, but not basically any weapon. And he's currently holding the Hazul scroll and the Seti scroll. Yeah, we're just going to play this entirely safe. Follow-up critical... Oh, I think people are calling it follow-up critical multiplier now as well. We've got the fatigue to spare. And I know in this seed that this guy has a lot of magic. So I'm just making sure that the fight goes well here, essentially. Probably the safest thing I can do is this. Gonna go pick up another fire tome for Asvel here using this mage. Bait that out, steal it. One thing we made sure to set up here, by the way, is we have a fire that is almost depleted, but not fully depleted. And we're going to use that later on. Just for convenience's sake. Doesn't letting characters get captured mean you have to do extra chapters. The only condition is that if any characters are captured, then you have to do chapter 21X. But it's pretty infeasible to not do 21X in a speedrun, and it's pretty easy to get out of 21X if you have to do it. Chapter 21X is an escape chapter, but the escape point is at the what's it called? It's at the beginning of the map. So if you don't want to do it, you can just escape with everyone that's there. Yeah, it's pretty heartbreaking, but also at the same time pretty hilarious to just abandon everybody all the time in this game. Okay, so that's those guys done. Now it's just a matter of picking up the skill ring in this treasure chest over here and escaping with the rest of our units. So now's a good time for more plugs and donations, etc.
All right. We did get an anonymous $50 donation with no comment. Very much appreciate that. I'm trying to get the right tab. There you go. Another run that I haven't actually talked about that also has some incentives that you can donate for. After Final Fantasy 15, we'll have Legend of Mana. You can name your character. Currently in the lead for the character is Shawnee at $40, with Robin at 25 right behind it. So if you want to usurp Shawnee, and I definitely support that, go ahead and get your money towards that. We also have a bid war between the Dragon and Fairy stories, with Dragon in the lead at 55, Fairy trailing behind at 30, but it's not a very big margin. So once again, any of your donations are appreciated. They're going towards NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness, so we very much appreciate your donations.
The petrified character is a story thing, and the skill ring is for Safi so that she never misses with staves again. So now we're outside again, so we get to have a Pegasus night. Whee! And we're also in these next couple of chapters just going to be essentially running out of here in as few turns as possible. There's not going to be a lot of combat in chapter 6 and 7. Chapter 6 is intentionally so by the game design, because even in this cutscene, Karen suggests that she can just carry everybody out of here on her Pegasus Hermes. And I'm definitely just going to take her up on that. But in chapter 7, we actually have to do a lot of work to make it so that there are no enemies that we have to fight. Here is one of the 2 shops we're going to be taking in the game as well. And basically, we're going to sell everything we have to buy as many door keys as we can. Door keys are really, really important, even casually in Thracia. And that's definitely true in the speedrun as well. We also actually save time here on the Asvel route, notably, because if you don't go to 4X, then SETI will show up with an army of NPCs here and like waste a lot of time fighting a bunch of people we never intended to fight anyway. So there's that bit of a silver lining, at least after having gone through that side quest chapter. Gonna give her the light sword, then we're gonna sell everything else, freeing up my inventory for door keys. Praise be to door keys. Transfer Lara. One neat thing about this game as well is that, unlike Fire Emblem 7, for instance, you can trade. Like, you can trade with a person and then trade with another person that's also next to you. And you can also give and take rescued people. So you can just, like, continue to transfer them from one person to another person. Oh yeah, we never see Galzus in this run, Vood. That's just not a thing. Well, like, not in the early game, at least. We're gonna see him in 24, obviously, but we deal with the Coliseum and we get out of here fast enough that he's not going to show up. Get all our escapes done. Skipping cutscenes is actually a bit of a nuisance in Thracia as well. For some reason, it like only really lets you skip the cutscene like between points when text is being written. All right, so here's chapter 7. So I mentioned earlier in 2X that we killed Shiva so that he doesn't have an army here, and that is, still true. He doesn't. But there's another army that comes here from the top where we need to block all of the spawns in order to make sure that we don't have to deal with them. It's fine to just leave it like that, I think. That movement star doesn't help because he needs to trade with Livis anyway. We scroll the camera down there, actually, so that the game doesn't do it itself. The game is really slow at scrolling the camera when it needs to for story reasons. Safi's now going to take the HP ring that Finn got from the village earlier, the life ring, rather, because she needs a lot of max HP in order to use all of the staves she's about to be using and not get fatigued in later chapters. When you use a staff, you gain fatigue equal to the rank of your staff that you're using, basically. So A rank staves like Warp give you 5 fatigue. And when your fatigue exceeds your max HP, you have to sit out the next chapter unless you use a stamina drink. So that's very, very important for the routing in this game. We just picked up a Night Proof from the village there, or a Master Seal, or whatever the heck. It's going to promote Asvel here, and it's going to promote him in a spectacular fashion. I also love the aesthetics of this game. Yeah, 5 magic, 5 skill, 4 defense, and the build. I believe he gets 6 speed as well, but we don't even get to see that because it's already capped because of the SETI scroll. And so what happened earlier there with that cutscene is Rydrick went up to Leaf, and a boss was supposed to have spawned there, and Rydrick was supposed to be talking to them about how to capture Leaf. But, hilariously enough, he's just talking to Leaf instead. The boss doesn't spawn. The initial 3 people that were supposed to accompany him don't spawn. And because the boss isn't there, then we don't have to deal with any more of the reinforcements. Here we're going to go pick up another holy water, which is going to be useful in chapter 17 to raise magic above a certain threshold. Yeah, that's basically the size of it. We're going to hang on to that for a little while. But that's the most convenient place to get another one.
Good time for a quick donation?
Yep, go ahead. We're still just leaving.
All right. I got $50 from ADOPI, I guess is how you pronounce it. I don't know if that's supposed to be an acronym. No comment. Thank you very much. We have $5 from Anonymous. It just says Bon Courage or Bon Courage. Just let everyone know we're less than $50 away from $6,000. Can we get to that before the end of this chapter? The end of this run, at least. Come on, we can do it.
So yeah, Safi's going to use that skill ring, getting herself up to 10 skill, so she's not going to miss with staves anymore. Anyone who of Fire Emblem fans who want to respect my preference in the Three Houses bid war, by the way, can donate for the Golden Deer. Ghost Wheel stands for the Deer Force.
So yeah, man of culture.
But yeah, in Easy Escape maps, Leaf is being carried by Karen. Again, we got to make sure that Leaf always escapes last. Otherwise, everybody else is left behind. Very, very important. All right, so now we are at Chapter 8, which means we get access to the prep screen for the first time. We also have the fatigue mechanic kick in for the first time. So we're going to be distributing our door keys first off, and we're going to give Safi the warp staff that we picked up from Corporal in the last cutscene. Another important thing to note about the prep screens, and the reason why routing this game is so difficult, is that we don't actually get to go to the map and rearrange our units. The only way to rearrange your units in this game is to deploy and undeploy units. Whatever order they're in the list, there's a fixed order they appear in on the map corresponding to that order. And for many chapters later on in the game, this is actually a real problem. August likes to strategize by splitting up your army into multiple locations a lot. And when that happens, like 2 people next to each other on the unit list are on opposite sides of the map. And the only way to control that is to preemptively deploy and undeploy lots of people over the course of like 4 or 5 maps in advance to make sure that you have things going correctly. It's one of the reasons why donation incentives were kind of difficult to come up with for this game, because any perturbations to the route, like small perturbations, really cause a lot of problems when it comes to the unit ordering. Yes, we did just repair the Graph Caliber. We're also going to capture Marty here. Marty is an enemy unit. We actually unequipped his weapon earlier so that he would, on this map, not only be easily capturable because he's disarmed, he also actually tried to go to the store to buy himself a weapon. He couldn't do it because the guy was blocking him on the way. But Thracia's AI is really, really neat. Like, this is the first Fire Emblem I've ever seen where you can actually like see enemy units buy weapons that they like if they don't have any. But we're just going to continue on. This is another escape map. So we just picked up Carrion and Marty, and now we're just going to have to say goodbye to them because we need more units to stay behind during this escape map. Nothing personal, guys. We also get access to a few new units, what I like to call the Selfina Scrub Squad, because these units don't really have a lot of personal skills. They come in at kind of low level. You're really attached to some other people. They're not worth much, but they're worth the warm bodies that they are currently, and they definitely have horses as well. So we're happy to have them in the speedrun. Yeah, exactly. We lost Tanya, so we actually get Dagdar for free without having to do the side quest map. So yeah, really only Karen and Ronan can get here efficiently in this map. Dagdar is here now, yeah, exactly. I might be getting ahead of myself because the commentary and the game are not exactly in sync in this setup. I'm not exactly used to that. I'll try and be more mindful of that. Yeah, if there's another donation that you want to plug here while I just finish escaping with these units, this is a good time, I guess.
All right. Well, I have a donation to read. It's an anonymous donation. Just says, actually, let me refresh this. Donation name's not it. Oh, it is an anonymous donation. For $50, it says it's over 6,000.
Excellent.
I'm not gonna do my 90s Dragon Ball reference there, but that is the next round, Dragon Ball Z. So with that, we are officially over $6,000. Thank you, everyone, for your donation. So let's keep it going.
That's probably true as well. I can't, my setup, I can't really not have the TV here, and I've made it as low as possible, but I bet some of it's going to bleed through regardless, and I apologize for that. Okay, in this next chapter, we've got a pretty notoriously difficult to kill boss. He's pretty above curve for what you'd expect in this game, and his name is Largo. He's actually the big sticking point for a Fergus route, in my opinion. You really can't get a Fergus to the point where you'd really be happy with all of the rest of the combat that has to go on in this chapter, and also Largo consistently. And as a result, you might have to use more warp staves, in which case you have to actually steal a stamina drink from one of the thieves. But here, we can actually have Asvel go over here. We can equip that bad fire that we were talking about earlier, and we can drop Leaf. Now, Leaf's going to get captured, but that's fine. And Asvel's going to have to endure a pretty rough enemy phase, but he's more than equipped for it. And then once we kill Largo, we're going to bust Leaf back out, and he's going to be able to seize the throne from there. But in front of Largo, 2 units spawned here called Olin and Fred, and they are invincible, basically. They've got plot armor, just like a number of units in this game kind of have plot armor, where they need to show up in later chapters. Avel, actually, our Jigen from earlier, is actually one of those people in the early chapters who just cannot die. But yeah, since Olin can't die here, we don't want to waste Graph Caliber on her, so we're just going to try and use as much fire as we can. I don't really like that Asvel took all this damage. It's not very common for him to have done so. That means he can die to Largo. But we'll have to see if he lives. From here on out, this is where most of the time loss can occur, in these, like, very probable but nevertheless slightly dicey boss kills, where I might lose a minute or two just redoing the first turn of the warp skip. Yeah. Largo got me. Rip Asvel. One thing that an astute viewer might also have noticed is that I only had 3 fire left in my fire tome, but I used at least 4 on Olin and Fred there. That's because in this game, your weapon doesn't actually break until the end of combat. Like, it doesn't break in the middle of combat if you run out of uses. You actually just get to use it out, and then it breaks. And that's really a nice quality of life. I kind of wish more Fire Emblems worked like that. Would it constitute a reset of the entire game normally if I died when I did not decide that character was needed for my run to continue? I don't really understand what you're asking. Oh, we're back down to 16 health for some reason. That's concerning. Please don't kill me again, Largo. Usually we're, like, just healthy going into Largo himself, and, like, it's really not a problem if he hits us at all. Did I get, like, the same seed somehow? That's, like, I didn't even reset this time. That'd be kind of freaky if I did. Yeah, I think I must have or something. That's a little awkward. Ah. Yeah, you'd probably reset the game if a necessary character died. In a speedrunner casually, I would anyway. Cool, Largo. At least we're not, like... At least Safi's got her skill. At least we're not having to contend with, like, missing warp staves. It's very possible that Safi doesn't have 10 skill at this point, and she can miss on a 4%. That's not the right fire. I actually have to equip twice now to make sure that works. Why use Largo and you have Boyd? Yeah. I don't think I ever used Largo in Path of Radiance at all, so I barely remember who he is. Yeah, this is more like it. I mean, Asvel's on a mountain here, and he's got cap speed and a pretty good weapon. So it really shouldn't be a surprise that he manages to avoid attacks most of the time here. as is currently happening. It doesn't really matter if you burn Grafcal on Fred. Like, most of the time where Grafcal is going to be good unless some really notable exceptions happen, I guess. I've only seen us run out of Grafcal over the course of the entire run if I don't have a bad fire at all, and I waste like 4 on Olwen and 4 on Fred. And then also, like, Baldak attacks me, and then also, like, I don't have another fire for some reason to go through the rest of, like, Chapter 12. I don't know. It's just, it takes a lot to run out of it. And getting the bad fire there is just an extra precaution. Also nice to see us hit 16 magic. We definitely need to hit 17 by the end of the game. But with the Chapter 5 manip giving us good level ups, that's pretty much never going to be a problem. And it's essentially never a problem in any percent anyway. I've only once had magic level ups bad enough to not kill the final boss. Yep, more tactical undeploys. Nothing to see here. This chapter also has a character with plot armor. The boss Kempf essentially can't die here, and he'll leave after the first turn that you combat him. So this chapter like takes a bit, but is essentially entirely free. We're not going to go to 11x. 11x is really, really slow to go to, and it requires you stepping into a trap and having a bunch of doors close on you and stuff. There's just not really any reason to do that. Safi's also out of warp staff at this point, so she's gonna make sure that she repairs it this chapter before we leave as well. For those of you at home keeping track of the fatigue, that's 3 major staves that we're using here. We're gonna use a 4th one in chapter 12, and then in chapter 13 we're gonna go 12x. We're gonna go over, and then we're gonna use a stamina drink basically. A single character doing all the boss killing is not uncommon in these speedruns, but the fact that the single character, there's a lot of different choices for what single character can be pulling a lot of this weight, is really, really nice in Thracia. And so many units in this game, because of the way the final chapter works, have to pitch in at some point or another. So that's all just really cool, in my opinion. But yeah, you're going to see a lot of warp skipping going forward. There were videos just at the start, but also we didn't have an especially great Chapter 5. And had to reset a couple of times in 4x. So here we're going to manipulate the AI, actually. We want to make sure that Salem here, the boss, does not use the sleep staff on turn 1. Not because we actually care about anybody being put to sleep, mind you. We want him to have it when we recruit him so that we can use all 3 charges ourselves. I hit the unit menu instead of ending turn, and that messed with Manip. And then, like, some other weird stuff happened. It was bizarre. Like, I think I had 4-ish resets in the first 2 turns of Chapter 5, and, like, one of those was my fault. and the others were just really weird. But that's how it goes. But then it went smoothly, and now the rest of the run is on track to sail on to the finish. The same way that we manipulate staff misses, Renger, we're going to use the shared 94 between all 64 of the seeds. And target that for when the AI pulls that number to decide when he's going to use the sleep staff. So we're going to get another beneficial side quest chapter here, chapter 12X, because we captured Salem. This is really, really important because it not only gives us a stamina drink and the King's Sword and like a recruitable character in Pawn, it also gives us access to our Dancer, who's actually been hiding with us the whole time. Our second thief, Laura, has a story-based conversation with Pawn, which allows her to become a Dancer. Yeah, it does happen. I don't know exactly when it happens. I didn't come up with the manip. I just know why it works. For the AI, at least. I figured out... I've reverse engineered a lot in this game, but as far as AI is concerned, I'm not... It's pretty arcane. Like, the AI in every chapter is different, and the numbers they call don't correspond in a way that makes sense to me a lot of the time. But yeah, another cool thing to note is that everyone in this chapter either doesn't have items or has magic high enough to not get stolen from by Tina. Fans of this game will remember that Tina over here has an unlock staff and a thief staff, and when she's an enemy, she will use them on you. She will take your stuff. Yep, we just recruited that boss, and we're going to steal Tina's S-Drink, and we're going to get out of here. But yeah, I'm going to give a shout out at this point to the Japanese RTA community and Magu1230, the record holder of this game in particular. I would not have done anything near like what I've done in this game if it weren't for all of the work that they've done over the years. And like, it's really, really impressive what these guys have come up with for the route generally. We do not want to do that. Take these instead. Yeah, it's very long to walk Safi over there to get Tina. So we're not going to do that. Chapter 13 also has a really, really cool strat. This is another escape map, so we get to say goodbye here to Kane and Halvan. But what's cool about it is the fact that this chapter actually runs in two phases, basically. The first phase is where armies commanded by Rist at the bottom here begin to try and attack Tara, and we have to defend it using Glade's army, the Leinster Scrub Squad here. And the Leinster Scrub Squad is actually a team of generic units. They're not recruitable. They just have like some random stats, and you can move them on your turn, and they're just like a bit helpful. But once Rist is dead, what actually happens is another army moves in from the top. And we have to make sure that they don't also screw us up while we're trying to escape. So we have a clever plan to deal with that I'm going to show you in a second. After we kill Rist, of course. Yeah, I don't know all that much trivia about the generics beyond that they're generics. But yeah, I'm sure there's quite a lot of interesting things you could say about them. Haha, I knew it would happen! It's... Oh, yes, but Adept saves the day. Okay, so that was an activation of a skill called Big Shield. Generals and Barons tend to have it, and it basically means that they get to ignore damage their level percent at the time. So that's 12% for wrist. Gonna make sure everything's okay. Yep. If we don't kill him there, that's a reset. So that's one of the scarier fights because of Big Shield. And many of the other fights later on in the run are also scary because they can prevent damage randomly. Okay. And now we're going to sort of peace out here. But one important thing to know is that like we're taking Karen in this ballista fire and it's not going to attack her at all. Like none of these guys are actually going to attack at all because their commander is dead. But normally what would happen is these guys would try to escape out the top or out the sides. But the way we've positioned the Leinster Scrub Squad here and Glade himself, there's actually no viable exit for any of Rist's army. And additionally, we've also done this in such a way that blocks all of the reinforcement points where the second army comes in from. It's such a cool strat. I love it every time that I do that. And yeah, now we're just done. Following this chapter is the first defend chapter in the entire Fire Emblem series. So get hyped for that. We're going to have some interesting strats on display for this. But it's also going to be probably a great time for donation incentives.
I can't believe you used the word defend hype in the same sentence. Alrighty. We do got some donations.
Correct.
We got $50 from Shadow Killer, no comment. Thank you very much. We got $50 from our Final Fantasy 15 runner himself, Kios. Just says, I'm not running in French. Which allow me to plug the French restream, as well as Japanese restream, as was mentioned. Twitch.tv/Le French Restream. For French, our good friend Legrand, I believe, is doing restream commentary, so shoutouts to him. And then Japanese underscore restream for Japanese.
All right, so we just a note there. We just took our second and final shop in this game where we sold all of Ada's stuff there for a stamina drink, and that's the only other stamina drink we're gonna need this run. That's right. I like to call this strat the slot the clot strategy, where in this defend chapter, what we'd like to do is we'd like to escape with minimal combat and with minimal enemy reinforcements. There's actually a limit to the number of units which can be on the screen at one time. And so we really don't want to kill anybody if we can avoid it. Especially because, killing people takes animation time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to cleverly engineer certain captures and position our units so that they come up in a certain way, so that hopefully everything goes really, really smoothly here, and we're going to avoid essentially all combat. Oh, really? That's why the reinforce. That's interesting. It's calling it slot the claw is an in-joke to myself because I played Netrunner back when it was a game, and like there's a card in there called slot clot, and you gotta put it in your deck. You gotta slot that clot. So
that sounds dirty. I'm not gonna lie.
People say I don't really get what. That's the first time I'm hearing people say that, but all right.
I know it isn't because I know what both of those words mean. I'm just saying.
Gonna check everybody's movement here just to be safe. Thracia extra movements is, like I said, variable enemy stats, 10% to be able to move one more space than they normally can. It's a little sketchy. They're coming. It can screw you over here. It's screwed me over in a number of chapters. Mainly the ones where you have to move a lot, like the early game chapters like Chapter 3, Chapter 4X. Chapter 5, it's generally not an issue if there's extra movement. But there's a first time for everything. All right, so we just had Alva, one of the Selfina Scrub Squad units, get captured there, and we're delaying the second capture here while everybody files in. Most of the time you can improvise around extra movement on enemies, though. Most of the time you can figure out a way if you're creative enough. It's just a matter of if you're creative enough in the 30 seconds you have to think about stuff. Gonna unequip Finn here, give the lockpick to Lara, and we should be done with actions for this map. Yep, Marty and Carrion are the ones who got left behind on Chapter 9. And we're not actually going to lose Alva and Finn here. If you wanna, if your character is going to get left behind, they have to actually be dragged off of the map. So yeah, what's happening now is the people who have captured my units are trying to leave, but they can't because everyone else has filed in too far behind him. And all of the other units are trying to attack me, but they can't because the guys trying to leave are in the way. So there's really just we're just at a standoff here. There's nothing to be done. They kind of settle in on this T pose here, and we get to end turn a bunch, and we don't see any combat at all. Yeah, the AI doesn't really know how to get out of its own way here. No, Finn is not actually gone here, and Alva will return as well. This apparently is like the most optimal shape. Is like when they realize they can't do anything, they say, "All right, we're gonna assemble the T. Give us some time. We're gonna intimidate them out of Tara." And here are the green units that people were mentioning in chat earlier. They're coming in about 2 seconds after I started saying that. These guys are actually enemy units, but as far up as we are in the map, they're never going to reach us in time to be anything of an issue. Only a couple of turns left to end. We have to survive 10 turns.
I won't lie, this utter horde of enemies, I look at it and I'm just like, yeah, this looks like what the first event chapter in this series history would look like.
Yeah, the Swords Rosen would have spawned by now, and they're just not going to. Yeah, and like this is the unicap, right? Like we'd probably be seeing about twice as many if we let all of them spawn. In the old segmented run on SDA, and in my casual playthrough, this is where Marita gets trained to become a good boss killer. Just like you pick her up in chapter 12, and then right here is where she gets to slay a lot of these armor units. But now we're back to your regularly scheduled warp skipping. And here's the route split. And I mentioned it way, way earlier, but it's actually come up now, so I'll talk about it again. There are two choices on which way to go, and we're going to go onto the colloquially called A route, the Fort Northern Line route, where we get to dodge an escape map, and thus like not having to lose a bunch of units or whatever, and also pick up 2 warp staves. It's just you can't even really think of not going A route in a speed run. I'm gonna be careful about skipping this cutscene, because if you actually frame perfect skip this cutscene, then like he doesn't let you go on the route. So I'm just gonna let that one play. I've been around for a long time, so forgive me for being a little archaic. So now that we, I guess, Yeah, now in this part of the speed, we're transitioning to the double warp skips because the enemies, like, with Largo, we were able to start to drop Leaf, survive an enemy phase, then have Leaf come in and seize right after here. But that's not really feasible now for a couple of reasons. The first is because there are a lot more enemies and there are a lot more lethal, so it's just going to take a lot longer to do a single warp skip. And the second is because the enemy formations outside of the castles have adapted to make single warp skipping much more difficult as well. So because we have a dancer, we can do double warp skipping, so that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We warp 2 characters, and then we go kill the boss, and then we go seize the chapter. Restore does not get used in this run. There's never really an opportunity for the enemy to hit us with status. We prefer to proactively disable the enemy before that happens, rather than actually use Restore defensively. All right, chapter 17 is a bit longer than before. It takes 2 turns. Because we need to go grab some stuff, basically. I'm going to go repair this warp again. Funny how quickly it gets used up when we start double warp skipping. We're going to do another couple of manips to get some more movement stars here, but Dean has a 10% chance of 15% chance? No, 10% chance of going again. And Sarah's got a 15%, 25% chance of going again. So they're a lot easier benchmarks to hit. Okay, so I'm going to count to 28 here. No, that's not right. First we capture, then we count to 28. I think warp is actually quite balanced for Thracia. Like, these warp skips all look really, really easy, but it takes a lot of routing to not be fatigued at the wrong points when you're warp skipping like this. So we actually used to level Safi's magic up a lot and manip that level up and give her the study scroll in order to have her put more to sleep here. But by manipping Sarah's movement star and using the silent staff that she already has equipped, she can use the holy water and get her magic above the level it needs to status somebody. In this game, you're allowed to use a status stave on an opponent if your magic is greater than your opponent's magic, and it'll always work if you do. And it will never work if you don't. I don't really know why Misha's army doesn't attack Dean here. Maybe he's just too swole, but it's just kind of odd to me that they don't. These guys are also enemy units. They're green enemy units. Gonna go capture more since he's unarmed, and then take his stuff. So that's 2 warp staves and a rescue staff we got for our trouble. Now we do the double warp skip. Oh, where's Urza? I like it. Misha's also an annoying recruit in this game, in 100% or 47 unit recruit. You have to like talk to her with Karen, and then you have to capture her. But you can't actually capture people on horseback unless you put them to sleep. So, takes a lot of resources. Yeah, we do lose that silent staff. Because we let Sarah get captured, her stuff is gone. Gonna manipulate this so I live. Doesn't always work, but apparently. This is a pretty favorite combat, even if I don't manip it, but I don't want to do this again. Okay, good. Enemies start having essentially ranged brave weapons called master weapons. So even if like they're not very strong, they can still kill us a lot of the time. And there's chapter 17. This is a pretty big prep screen for chapter 18. And this is one of the maps where we start having people get split up a lot of the time. But I'm going to do a lot of inventory shuffling here to get Sarah the staves that she needs. We're also going to give Ronan the Dane scroll, which Dean had on him, just to prevent him from getting crit later. So yeah, 8 of our guys are on one side and 8 of our guys on the other side. So very important to make sure that the right people are on this side so that we can do the double warp skip. We're also going to have Sarah start using the M-Up staff, which is basically just like a staff version of Holy Water, to gain experience. Sarah's got the elite skill, which means she gains double experience. And she doesn't have the staff rank yet to use warp, but if she promotes, she will. So that's what we're getting ready for here. Magu 1230 has not done a strict no warp staff where you manipulate movement level ups, but he's done a staffless no manip run, which is quite long and quite difficult. Nice. That dude has big shield and he also can kill me, so this fight is by no means free. Next chapter is another one where our army is split up, but in this case, the story says that Leaf made a mistake here, and we sent out a lot of our guys too soon. And this is an escape map where the goal is basically to rescue a lot of your guys that you sent out there. But unfortunately, in the speedrun, we're going to have to leave 8 units behind. Recruiting Xavier is something I floated as an incentive, but it takes quite a long time compared to not doing it. Like, even a speedrun takes like 20 minutes to do it. It's just not practical. And it would have to be done in a separate save file. You couldn't do it in this run because of the way Thracia routing works. It's very, very difficult to change things, as I mentioned, because of the unit order problem and the fatigue problem. So yeah, this chapter is just, this isn't even a warp skip. This is just a, what? Abandon your friends skip? We're really not very, knightly or leaderly, lordly or princely or whatever Leaf is now. I think he promotes from lord to prince and gets like a pretty sad promotion.
After all the years of playing Fire Emblem, that sounds kind of like a downgrade somehow.
Leaf is actually people argue about Leaf, but I think Leaf is a great lord because he's around a lot. Crusader Scrolls exist to help give him good stats. He is not affected by fatigue, and he supports basically everyone. He's good, just not in the traditional sense. All right, get ready for the second defend map in the Fire Emblem series. Hype, hype, hype.
You want it so much.
This is the last one we have to deal with. This is probably the longest chapter in the speedrun for the rest of the run. And it's quite complicated as well. The clot is a lot harder to set up. And the unit order here is also pretty exacting. There's a lot of things we need to have done in a very specific way. And you're going to see a lot of that. We're going to talk as the map is going about all the things that we're trying to make happen here. Yeah, exactly. There's no manual unit placement. If you want to manipulate somebody's unit in a chapter, you have to think 4 or 5 chapters in advance. Most of the time. So these guys in the prison here, they have killing edges for some reason. And they're going to get let out eventually, and Ronan's just going to let them out now. But he's got a scroll, so he can't get crit by them. So Sarah's just going to get more experience here. think we're all good here. Gonna play get extra safe here because I definitely don't want to reset on this chapter. In a couple of turns, we can do donations if you've got any. Just give me a second here while we begin with this defend map. So, yeah, that first thing with Ronan, it was cool and all, but we're gonna put a stop to that with the sleep staff. Now the guy with the sleep staff can't do anything, and nobody can go past the guy who's sleeping to attack Ronan or otherwise. That's gonna be the first clot that we're gonna slot here. We're also going to repair our warp staff. This is the last use of the repair staff, so it's done some heroic work for us in this speedrun, so just going to give a special shout out to the repair staff. We're also opening all the doors and all the chests for a reason that's going to become apparent like very, very soon. All right, here come more people. So now we should see the AI start to move toward the throne and also toward a lot of these little cracks in the walls that you can see. Like if you look closely enough, and you'll definitely be able to see after they're opened, they explode when these guys get in front of them. And you're also going to see later on in this turn some bishops with Tina's personal unlock staff try to unlock the doors themselves. Good. They didn't miss. In my last practice run, they actually missed like 4 times with the unlock staff, which actually caused serious problems in defending the map. Yeah, the Verdant Winds is the Golden Deer. That is correct. Are they going to go capture Ada at this point? No, actually, we still have one more turn before that happens. Cool. It's turn 4. This defend map also has a unique objective. It's not just a defend map. It's a defend and kill boss map. You have to survive for 15 turns, and the boss needs to be dead for you to advance onto the next map. So the ideal scenario is we survive for 15 turns, and then exactly on turn 15, we assassinate the boss, and then we get to go on. Because actually approaching the boss with his guard of generals with master lances is not very fun. We want to be able to do that as late as possible. The boss here, Barat, also has a Crusader scroll of his own. He's got the Tordo scroll, which means you can't crit him. You may or may not have noticed, but we've been taking advantage of Grafkal's high critical hit ratio and Asvel's pursuit critical coefficient of 3 to get guaranteed crits to get like easy boss kills. But without that, we need to make sure that we can actually do enough damage to him to kill him. And that's where Sarah comes in. Yeah, they just blow up the walls. Huh, that's cool, Yui's. That they have, that there's a guy in 24 who can use the Thief Staff. Alright, so Sarah sleeping this guy generates the second clot here. They can't go past her. They can't attack her. That guy can't do anything. And having used enough staves with our elite skill giving us experience, we can now promote. And Sarah, like Asvel, gets the Broken Sage promotion, so she's going to get a ton of magic and speed out of this. And she's also going to pick up a staff rank. So she can use warp saves now, and she can... she now has enough magic to cover Barat's magic stat, and she can put him to sleep. And what putting him to sleep does is it not only makes him not able to move, it takes his defenses down to 0 as well, so it'll be easier to kill him. But that's pretty much all the preparation we need for the current moment. So, GK, if you've got anything to say, now's the time. We're going to be interning a bunch.
All right, just a little bit quiet on the donations front right now, but did want to shout out something that we've been alluding to this entire run a few times. On Thursday, there will be a run of Fire Emblem 3 houses, and there are incentives for that one. First of all, the house bid war is currently, with just $25 raised, all going towards Verdant Wind. You can actually choose the house. Verdant Wind in the lead, that is Golden Deer, Azure Moon, and Crimson Flower, which are Blue Lions and Black Eagles. And as well as Silver Snow. Those are, which is the Church of Saros. Those are all sitting at 0, so it's a very, very small margin right now. There's also Naming Byleth, which is currently just has one name, which is, I don't know how you pronounce this, Lena Maria. Is at $50. So if you want to get your donations in towards anything other Fire Emblem related, that is definitely something you can put your money toward. Again, all donations go towards NAMI, National Alliance on Mental Illness. If you're interested in following them, they have at NAMI on Facebook, at NAMI Communicate on Twitter and Instagram, and NAMI.com, or NAMI.org, sorry, is their website. So if you're interested in checking them out, they're a charity, the largest grassroots charity in the United States, dedicated towards mental illness.
Thank you very much. One other thing to note here is we're blocking this crack, which is very, very important, because otherwise these guys are going to come up here and try to open it. So when we start moving down there, we're going to make sure that we keep that crack blocked so that that doesn't continue to happen. Another cool thing to note is that because of the unit cap, we're actually blocking the spawns of some pretty scary units here. There are ballistas with lots and lots of range that spawn. There are meteor mages that spawn. And we don't want to deal with any of that. But now we are finally ready to start moving toward the boss kill. Yep, we're just using Lara to have Glade Fairy Aswell at the end, but this is actually also in service of the backup strat in case Barat does not die here. Like many of the Baron bosses in this game, Barat has Big Shield, and so 20% of the time you will ignore damage, and because we're not critting, we don't really have insurance against that, and we would really, really like to not worry about that. So this is turn 14 here. We're waiting for this guy to bring Lara down here. And if Asvel fails the kill, then we're going to break Lara out of capture, and we're going to use him to make him go again. And hopefully that'll be good enough. Yeah, I don't know why it is like they sort of like go. It seems like they just check whether everybody has a turn, and it like takes time for that to happen. But no big shield procs. We took him down. Back to double warp skipping. So the last of this is basically just preparing for the final chapter, and people who have played this game know that the final chapter is actually pretty awesome. So we're going to get hyped for that. But yeah, like I said, we're promoted. We can use warp saves now. We don't even need to dance to double warp skip. We can just use Sarah. We can just use Safi. We can use our dancer for other things. If this were like Fergus Ride or something, we'd be a little more scared about whether we could actually do the boss kills. To the point where we'd even do something like pick up the charge manual in Chapter 12X or something, but here it's not especially an issue. We're also going to spend another warp staff use to send Glade down here to capture this cleric, because this cleric has a sleep staff and a fortify staff. Of which only the sleep staff is really of importance, but it's of paramount importance in the final chapter. I mean, it's multitasking, Yui's. If you're doing 12X with Fergus and you want to multitask, it's to get Tina, get a bunch of chests, get the warp staff, get the night proof. I tried to cut that out when I was writing Fergus, but I understand the merit of it. So this is the chapter where you get to rescue all of your previously captured units. This is 21X. And so what we're going to do instead is we're going to use it to reposition the unit order and have everybody escape without any remorse whatsoever. The next chapter is chapter 22. It's famous as being the Reinhard chapter, where there's just a really, really intimidating boss, who's not actually the boss of the level because he's not blocking the castle, with lots of really, really scary skills and Dime Thunder, and I believe also like a Master Sword or something. But in any case, even with your best units in Thracia, your 2020s, your Asvel, Merida, like it's just very difficult to kill Reinhard very consistently. But we don't have to worry about any of that at all. What we do have to worry about is Syas. Syas has 10 leadership stars, which means that his entire army has a 30% chance to avoid you that you normally wouldn't have. That combined with the Throne Avoid bonus, combined with the boss's natural speed, makes it actually very difficult to kill him. So we actually came up with a manip here, or I came up with a manip here, by just running programs in the RNG table simulating a bunch of outcomes that takes this from a less than a 50-50 to a 3/4 chance across all of the seeds. Oh yeah, and to top it all off, Cohen over here also has big shield, so you basically one shot and you have to like make sure that you hit through like 40% hit rate and big shield. That's not the one that we care about. It's the second hit we care about. There we go. Because remember, that second hit is a lot more likely to crit because of the pursuit critical coefficient. Now we're not quite done with this map. We're going to do a little maneuver here to turn a use of the rescue staff into a full warp staff. How are we on estimate? What time do we have right now, if somebody can tell me?
Just a little under 2:13.
Yeah, okay, we're not terrible. The final chapter takes like 10 minutes, and that's the only chapter of consequence. We should be close enough. Like, we got 23, 24, and then final. So yeah, we had mishaps, but we knew we were going to have some mishaps. I kind of hoped things would go smoother, but, you know, we're having fun here. But yeah, that maneuver is really, really cool to route. Also requires multiple chapters in advance of unit positioning to make happen, so it's pretty sweet. Yeah, capturing Cohen is the easiest way, but recruiting Tina is difficult because you have to actually walk Safi over there. So fans of this game will note that like it's like strictly better to take Seti over Syas, right? Like you guys saw how Seti like took down his enemies in Chapter 4X. And you know he's pretty good. He's like got crazy offensive capabilities, but In the speedrun, it's faster to recruit Sias instead for a number of reasons. The first and foremost reason is it does actually save a turn on this map to recruit Sias instead of Seti. Like, you have to wait for Seti to come in, kill the boss, and then you have to talk to him with Leaf, and you have to re-dance Leaf with Lara or something. It's a bit resource intensive to do. But the other really cool thing is that Seti is actually worse for the run than Sias is in the final chapter. And we're going to show why, but the main reason is because of Sias's 3 movement stars instead of Seti's 2. That extra movement star means it's a lot easier to manip him to go again. So here we've got Rydrick as the boss, and essentially this is a really tough fight if you're playing it like a speedrun, right? Because normally you'd use Leaf or Delmond or Fergus with the Bloggy Sword, which negates Rydrick's Loped Sword effect having your attack power going in, and that's a pretty serious deficit. But what we're going to do instead is we're going to use a similar manip to what we were doing with Cohen, where I figured this out using programming to give myself an edge, using Galzus and a lot of his Swordmaster skill triggers. This is not the final chapter. This is still chapter 24. So yeah, we're gonna manip here. And we're gonna believe. So the things to follow during this fight, when you look at it, basically, blue circle from Galzus means Moonlight Sword. We ignore his defense. Green circle from Galzus means Astra, where we have 10 hits on that hit sequence, and you know what Big Shield is. We didn't get it. Yeah, it's about a 50 over 64 with my manip to get it, so it's very realistic for us to not get it, but also not that big a deal. I even actually routed into this manip the fact that Galzus can get his 25% movement star as well and finish Roderick that way. I thought that was going to be a good one, though, because we had a good start.
Have time to squeeze in a quick donation?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, got $10 from Anonymous that just says, Bloggy over Tordo every time.
Nice. I think I know who said that. I mean, there are 100% routes, or like all recruitment routes that go to 24x. It is awful, but it's definitely doable. Okay, there's our Astra. That gives us a fair chance to trigger a lot of skills to start taking down Roderick. Come on, buddy. You can do it. Double Astra, yo? Okay. We in there. Oh, yeah, almost no donation incentives make sense because of the routing. You have to commit to something at the start. Yeah, he's got a Master Sword, which is basically a Brave Sword. It's still got uses left, so it's still going to be helpful for us. Alright, fine. Now we have the final chapter. This one's a doozy. We're bringing everyone, though. Alright, so the way that the final chapter works is everybody's parked in front of one of these little seal areas. And what we need to do is kill the boss on every single one of these magic seals, or make them move off of it, and stand on them simultaneously to open up the path to the final boss. What we just did there is manipulated a crit from Orson, but because he missed once, he didn't actually kill that thing. That miss is not part of the manip. We use like one specific shared number to get the crit, but we can't account for that. So let's try that again. Really, though? That's a surprising way to, I mean, this is a really easy reset. I'm not, like, tilted or anything. I'm just, like, yeah, Orson. You'll pick up the slack, buddy. You do need to kill that guy. So yeah, the main barrier for us, like, getting onto a seal is we have to open the doors, and we have to kill dark mages. Oh my god. And we have to kill bosses, and we have to get onto seals. Would you believe me if I told you that this was extremely uncommon? I think 3 in a row is that's never happened before. Oh, that's wrong. That's the wrong number of things I need to do in a minute. So yeah, Selfina is going to be in charge of most of the random number burning for Manips. She's got a pretty sanitary combat with that Dark Mage there. Can you stop missing? What's your deal? Okay, he crit anyway. He got it. Praise be. Yeah, this guy never has a chance. Galzus is just ready to go. Azel's going to take care of this Dark Mage. Yeah, and Sarah's... So, Gall's going to take care of those guys in front of Elf, the Sage, and that top left, the top right chamber right there. And Sarah's going to do a lot of sleeping of bosses as well to make them easier to kill. One other thing to note here is that the magic floor, the purple floor here, gives anyone standing on it 10 magic, which actually makes it really difficult to status them. In order to silence the Sage up there, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to magic up somebody and then also put them on the magic floor so that we can get over her 30 magic. We just manipulated Pon's movement star, and now we're going to manipulate Syas's. Yep, and now he can get out of there. Rescue Asvel. Asvel's going to help hold the fort on this end. And we're going to get ready to sacrifice a few more units. And that's the end of the first turn. That's the most complicated turn in this map. This map is 5 turns in total. No, Pawn! Yeah, these guys have Master Lancers. They're no joke. That's why you need Galzus to take care of them. All right. And the Master Axe is basically the Brave Axe that also has 1-2 range. That's really, really nice. No, Marita! No, Ronan! No, Ada! No, Selfina! So what we did with a lot of these sacrifices here was we moved people out of the way, tactically. Very, very important. You know, we needed that Dark Bishop to move like 1 square. Don't worry about it.
You're a monster.
Am I a monster, or did speedrunning make me a monster?
I completely understand. Hey man, I've been calling for killing animals for a decade and people still don't get it.
Alright, so now it's Galzus versus Rydrick, the rematch. Only this time we're not manipulating it. Just check to make sure I did that. Yep, okay. More Master Axe, guys. Good, alright. Galzus won't be dying this turn. That was one thing I was really afraid of. If a lot of those guys hit him, and also, like, Rydrick got a movement star or something, then Galzus could be in danger of dying. Yeah, we've got 3 turns, basically, to fish for skills and crits, so I'm not especially worried. But, you know, I'm a little worried. Gonna sleep Foon for now. Yeah, I'm so glad we get to replace the final chapter music, which is overly happy with the you screwed up and had somebody die music. Equip the Master Sword now. And do this. That should be good enough. Yeah, there were already a lot of deaths, but most of them were off screen. We got to turn a blind eye to all the deaths that happened in 21X. They weren't even there, you know? It's like, you know, we're morally blameless. There's that big shield. There we go. Roderick dead again. The all recruits in this speedrun does feature lots of people getting captured, but then we do make sure we take them back. All right, now we're going to get everybody onto the seals. And all they have to do now is survive a turn. And we'll open the way up to the final boss. Yeah, Magu has an all recruits run and a triple S rank run. And the only difference between all recruits and triple S rank is turn count. There's lots of places in this game where you can save time by wasting turns. And using a lot of the kinds of long manips that we did in Chapter 4, you can save those turns and make a triple S rank run happen. No, Orson! And no, Lara! Oh no, yeah, Selfina died. Funf killed her in the first turn. Okay, now we're going to manipulate the final boss kill by trying to get a crit with our first attack here. There's a shared 12 on position 47 that we're going to use, but before that I'm also going to make sure that we're not in one of the seeds where in the combat preview window we get adept triggers and mess up the manip basically. Manipping combat is difficult because of skills like adept, is the long and the short of it. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1. Okay, we should be good. Good. Whew. So that's Veld. That's the easiest final boss in the series. He doesn't even really counterattack back. The only problem is he's just a big fat stack of health. Yeah, give me a sec for the time.
GG, good job.
How did I do? Did I make an underestimate?
It's 2. Okay, I'm gonna wait for it to fully process on my end. Looks like we're at about 232.
Ah, that's unfortunate. Well, them's the breaks. I hope everybody enjoyed anyway. Again, big shout outs to NAMI. I really love the cause that we're donating for here today, and big shout outs to the Japanese RTA community. Without them, I wouldn't have figured out like any of this stuff essentially. I've got resources for how to speedrun this game on speedruns.com if anybody is interested. It's definitely a fun one. Thank you guys for your time.
Sweet.